Hi, this is Julieta Yang Orfiano. Welcome to my video. If this is your first time on my channel, please like, share, and subscribe so I can notify you if I have a new video. This is the continuation of part 4 about receivables. I discussed in part 4 about accounting for notes receivable. Just click above or the link below this video to watch part 4. In this video, I am going to discuss about measurement subsequent to initial recognition. Measurement subsequent to initial recognition. Loans and receivables based on IAS number 39 shall be measured in the statement of financial position at amortized cost using the effective interest method. The amortized cost of a financial asset, as illustrated in the previous examples, is the amount at which the financial asset is measured at initial recognition minus principal repayments plus or minus the cumulative amortization using the effective interest method of any difference between that initial amount and maturity amount and minus any reduction directly or through the use of an allowance account for impairment or uncollectibility. Thus, amortized cost of notes receivable is the ledger balance of notes receivable plus any remaining balance of premium on notes receivable, or in the case of discount, minus any remaining balance of discount on notes receivable. In case some portion of the receivable is assessed to be impaired, the amount believed to be uncollectible shall also be deducted. Almost invariably, some receivables will prove uncollectible, such that an amount of accounts or notes receivable must be recognized as expense in profit or loss. This is called impairment loss, or more popularly called uncollectible accounts expense or bad debts expense. There are two methods of accounting for uncollectible accounts: the direct write-off method and the allowance method. The direct off method recognizes impairment loss or bad debts expense by crediting directly the receivables account. The entry to recognize impairment on accounts receivable is debit bad debts expense for uncollectible accounts expense or impairment loss. Credit accounts receivable or notes receivable. Some accounts which have been previously written off are unexpectedly recovered or collected. In such a case, the entries to recover an account require the reinstatement of the account and the recording of the collection. Thus, to record recovery under the direct write-off method, the entries are debit accounts receivable, credit bad debts recovery, or recovery of previous impairment of receivables, reinstatement of recovered account, debit cash, credit accounts receivable, collection of recovered account. The direct write-off method is the only method allowed for income tax purposes. The allowance method, on the other hand, requires the use of valuation account for the receivables. This method recognizes the impairment of receivables by a charge to bad debts expense or impairment loss and a credit to the allowance account. Thus, the entry to recognize impairment is debit bad debts expense for impairment loss and credit allowance for bad debts. The resulting balance of allowance for bad debts is deducted from accounts or notes receivable to arrive at its amortized cost. Because the allowance account is previously set up when an account is considered to be definitely uncollectible and is written off, the entry is debit allowance for bad debts, credit accounts receivable, uncollectible account written off. When an account previously written off is recovered, the account should be reinstated and the collection should be recorded. Thus, the entries for the recovery are debit accounts receivable, credit allowance for bad debts, reinstatement of account recovered, debit cash, credit accounts receivable, collected an account previously written off. Under the allowance method, the write-off of an uncollectible account and the recovery of an account previously written off do not change the net amount of accounts receivable, nor do they affect the determination of profit or loss. To illustrate, assume that on April 1st, 2009, ABC Manufacturing wrote off an account of its customer, Mr. X, in the amount of 25,000 pesos, which has been overdue for several years now. Subsequently, on July 5, 2010, ABC recovered and collected the account of Mr. X. Journal entries for the write-off and subsequent recovery of the account are as follows. 2009, April 1st, debit allowance for bad debts, 25,000 pesos. Credit accounts receivable, Mr. X, 25,000 pesos. Write-off of an uncollectible account. 2010, July 5, debit accounts receivable, Mr. X, 25,000 pesos. Credit allowance for bad debts, 25,000 pesos. To restate the account of Mr. X previously written off. 2010, July 5, debit cash, 25,000 pesos. Credit accounts receivable, Mr. X, 25,000 pesos. Collection of account previously written off. At year-end, the amount of accounts receivable that may be proved to be uncollectible must be estimated. An appropriate adjusting entry is then prepared as follows. Debit bad debts expense, credit allowance for bad debt expense, estimated uncollectible accounts. In some cases, the allowance for bad debts may result to a debit balance before year-end adjustment. These may indicate that there have been excessive write-offs during the period and the previous estimate of the company may not be adequate. In such a case, the company has to review the basis of estimating its uncollectible accounts and should bring its uncollectible accounts to the appropriate balance at year-end based on the most reasonable estimate. An error in making such previous estimates is not considered an accounting error, and changing the basis for estimating bad debts is not considered as a change in accounting policy. Both are treated as change in accounting estimates, and bringing the allowance account to its appropriate balance at year-end would be considered as an adjustment to the current year's bad debts expense. A debit balance in the allowance account before adjustment should not, however, lead to a conclusion that the previous estimate of the company is always inadequate, as the accounts that have been written off during the period may also arise from current year's sales. It is merely that the entry for the write-off is prepared ahead of the year-end entry to provide for bad debts expense. At the end of the year, after the adjusting entry is prepared, the allowance account should be brought to a credit balance that reasonably brings the account receivable to its recoverable account. Measuring impairment loss. An entity shall assess at each reporting date whether there is any objective evidence that its receivable or group of receivables is impaired. Impairment losses are incurred and impairment loss is recognized in profit or loss in the statement of comprehensive income if, letter A, there is objective evidence of impairment as a result of one or more events that occurred after the initial recognition of the receivable. And letter B, the impact on the estimated future cash flows of the receivable can be reliably measured. It may not be possible to identify a single, discrete event that caused the impairment. Rather, the combined effect of several events may have caused the impairment. Losses expected as a result of future events, no matter how likely, are not recognized. Objective evidence that a receivable or a group of receivables is impaired includes observable data that comes to the attention of the holder of the instrument, the creditor, about the following loss events based on PAR number 59, IAS number 39. Letter A, significant financial difficulty of the debtor. Letter B, a breach of contract such as a default or delinquency in interest or principal payments. Letter C, the lender for economic or legal reasons relating to the borrower's financial difficulty, granting to the borrower a concession that the lender would not otherwise consider. Letter D, it becoming probable that the borrower will enter bankruptcy or other financial reorganization. Letter E, observable data indicating that there is a measurable decrease in the estimated future cash flows from a group of receivables since their initial recognition, although the decrease cannot yet be identified with the individual receivable in the group, including adverse changes in the payment status of borrowers in the group. For example, an increased number of delayed payments or an increased number of credit card borrowers who have reached their credit limit and are paying the minimum monthly amount, or national or local economic conditions that correlate with defaults on the payment. For example, an increase in the unemployment rate in the geographical area of the borrowers, a decrease in property prices for mortgages in the relevant area, a decrease in oil prices for loan assets to oil producers, or adverse changes in industry conditions that affect the borrowers in the group. The measurement of impairment of receivables involved a two-step process. First, the entity assesses whether there is at least an objective evidence that indicates whether an individual significant account is impaired. Second, those accounts that are not individually significant and accounts which are not individually assessed to be impaired are included in a group of receivables with similar credit risk characteristics. The group is collectively assessed for impairment, and impairment loss is again recognized if appropriate. Receivables that individually assessed for impairment and for which an impairment loss is recognized are not included in a collective assessment of impairment. If any evidence exists as to the impairment of an individual receivable, the entity shall measure the impairment loss as the excess of the receivables carrying amount over the present value of the estimated future cash flows, excluding future credit losses that have not yet been incurred, discounted at the effective interest rate computed at initial recognition. To illustrate accounting for impairment of receivables, assume the following information for ABC Manufacturing Company at December 31st, 2009. Notes receivable, 18 million pesos. Interest receivable, 1,200,000 pesos. Accounts receivable, 4 million pesos. Allowance for uncollectible receivables, 120,000 pesos. ABC assess whether there is any objective evidence that its measuring notes receivable and accounts receivables are impaired. The following are to be considered: notes receivable and accrued interest for Company A. Company A is undergoing bankruptcy proceedings and has negotiated for restructuring of its notes receivable with face amount of 4 million pesos and accrued interest of 480,000 pesos based on interest rate of 12%. The note is due on December 31st, 2009. The restructuring arrangement calls for 1,120,000 pesos annual payment with first payment due on December 31st, 2010. No further interest will be collected during the extended 4-year term. Notes receivable and accrued interest from Company B. ABC Manufacturing granted a concession to Company B to extend the maturity date of the principal, 1 million pesos, by 1 year. The interest of 120,000 pesos is due to be collected on the note's original due date, January 1st, 2010, but interest is reduced from 12% to 10% during the extended period. Notes receivable from Company Y. Company Y was in good financial status as of December 31st, 2009, but it is more likely than not that it will undergo bankruptcy proceedings in 2010 due to a landslide loss suffered by the company late in July 2010. Company Y is the owner-developer of Cherry Hill Subdivision, which was destroyed by a landslide caused by flood. The government has clearly indicated to hold Company Y liable for the loss not only of properties but also of human lives due to the disaster. As of December 31st, 2009, Company Y had an outstanding note payable to ABC of 2 million pesos due on March 1st, 2010. Accrued interest on December 31st, 2009 based on interest rate of 12% was 200,000 pesos. Notes receivable from Company Z. Company Z paid the accrued interest of 360,000 pesos on its loan of 3 million pesos on December 31st, 2009 based on interest rate of 12%. Company Z negotiated for an extension of the maturity date of the loan to December 31st, 2011 as agreed upon by Company Z and ABC Manufacturing Company. The former will continue to pay the annual interest of 12% on the note every December 31st until 2011. All other notes and accrued interest with no recognized impairment are considered to be 95% collectible. Furthermore, an aging of accounts receivable indicates the following: age classification, less than 30 days, balance 2,800,000 pesos. Probability of non-collectible 2%. Age classification 31 to 90 days. Balance 700,000 pesos. Probability of non-collection 10%. Age classification 91 to 100 days. Balance is 300,000 pesos. Probability of non-collection 20%. Age classification more than 120 days. Balance of 200,000 pesos. Probability of non-collection 30%. The following shows how the impairment loss is computed and recorded on the individual receivables and on the group of receivables. From Company A, carrying value of 4 million plus 480,000 pesos, is 4,480,000 pesos. The present value of future cash inflows, 1,120,000 pesos times 3.0373 is 3,401,776 pesos. Impairment loss is 1,078,224 pesos. Debit impairment loss receivables, 1,078,224 pesos. Debit restructured notes receivable, 3,401,776 pesos. Credit notes receivable for 4 million pesos. Credit interest receivable for 480,000 pesos. From Company B, the carrying value is 1,120,000 pesos. Present value of future cash inflows, interest due, January 1, 2010, 120,000 pesos. Principal and interest due, January 1, 2011, 1,100,000 pesos times 0.8929 is 982,190 pesos. The impairment loss is 17,810 pesos. Debit impairment loss receivables, 17,810 pesos. Debit restructured notes receivable, 982,190 pesos. Credit notes receivable, 1 million pesos. The balance of interest receivable on note of Company B is not cancelled as it is collectible on January 1st, 2010. From Company Y, Company Y was in a good financial status as of December 31st, 2009. The event that might result to impairment of the receivable from Company Y occurred in 2010 and not in 2009. The assessment of the impairment should be based on the conditions that exist as of the reporting date. If the receivable from Company Y is considered significant, taken on the basis of the financial statements, the event that might render it impaired in the year 2010 would require disclosure in the notes to the financial statements of the year 2009. From Company Y, the maturity date of Company's note is merely extended by 2 years, but Company Z will still pay the periodic interest based on the historical rate of 12% during the extended term. Hence, no impairment is taken up as computed below. Carrying value, 3 million pesos. Present value of future cash inflows, interest of 300,000 times 1.6901 is 608,400 pesos. Principal of 3 million times 0.7972 is 2,391,600. Impairment loss is none. After testing individually the receivables for impairment, the remaining receivables with no recognized impairment loss are grouped based on their similar characteristics and are collectively assessed for impairment as follows. Remaining notes receivable, 18 million pesos less 5 million pesos times 5% is 650,000 pesos. Interest receivable, 1,200,000 pesos less 480,000 pesos less 120,000 pesos times 5% is 30,000 pesos. Accounts receivable, 2,800,000 pesos times 2% is 56,000 pesos. 700,000 pesos times 10% is equals to 70,000 pesos. 300,000 pesos times 20% is equals to 60,000 pesos. 200,000 pesos times 30% is equals to 60,000 pesos. The total required allowance is 246,000 pesos, less existing allowance for uncollectible notes and accounts for 120,000 pesos. The additional impairment loss recognized is 806,000 pesos. The entry to record the additional impairment loss is debit impairment loss receivables for 806,000 pesos, credit allowance for uncollectible receivables for 806,000 pesos. Both the direct write-off method and the allowance method are used in the foregoing entries. The impairment loss is charged for the restructuring of the notes of Company A and Company B. Hence, any excess of the carrying value over the present value of the restructured loans is charged directly to impairment loss. However, upon assessing the remaining notes and accounts receivable collectively based on age characteristics, the impairment loss is credited to allowance for uncollectible receivables. This is so for the reason that the impairment loss is related to the group of accounts, notes, and interest and not on individual account. The total impairment loss recognized during the period, considering the stated circumstances, is 1,902,034 pesos, which is the sum of 1,078,224 pesos, 17,810 pesos, and 806,000 pesos. Alternatively, the impairment loss on the notes of Company A and Company B may also be charged to allowance for uncollectible receivables. Doing so would result to a debit balance of 976,034 pesos in the allowance account before adjustment for the result of the collective assessment of the remaining receivables. To arrive at the required credit balance of the allowance after adjustment of 926,000 pesos, the allowance should be credited for a total of 1,902,034 pesos with a charge to impairment loss for the same amount. Based on the foregoing illustration, the amortized cost of ABC Manufacturing Company's notes receivable and accounts receivable is 21,207,966 pesos as computed as follows. Notes receivable, 18 million pesos less 4 million pesos less 1 million pesos is equals to 13 million pesos. Interest receivable, 1,200,000 pesos less 480,000 pesos is 720,000 pesos. Accounts receivable, 4 million pesos. Allowance for uncollectible receivables, 926,000 pesos. Restructured notes receivable at amortized cost, 4,383,966 pesos. Total amortized cost of receivables, 21,176,966 pesos. Subsequent to the recognition of impairment loss, interest revenue is recognized until the receivable is finally settled. In the foregoing example, after recording the impairment loss on the notes of Company A and Company B, the restructured notes of Company A and Company B have been adjusted to the new amortized cost of 3,401,776 pesos and 982,190 pesos respectively. In the subsequent periods until final collection, interest revenue will be recorded using the effective interest method based on appropriate tables of amortization. The amortization entry is as follows: debit restructured notes receivable, credit interest revenue. Thank you for watching my video. I hope you learned something from this video. I did part 6 and continuation of this video wherein I discuss in part 6 about receivable financing. Just click above or the link below this video to watch part 6. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe on my channel so I can notify you if I have a new video. Once again, this is Julieta Yang Orfiano. See you on my next video.